AI probably eventually will take over society completely. But a lot of people start also getting scared. But AI in the short term is going to help increase productivity. It's going to help a lot of the things that we struggle with in society. It's not going to be the big shakeup we think it is. People are just adapt and move on.
How do you think AI is going to play in real estate?
Real estate was a very inefficient market. People can take advantage of that. Asymmetric information. That's a result of all players having access to the information.
I could see it helping evening things out a little bit, taking care of places where people don't even have food and water. And
people think that there's a shortage of food or water. There's not. There's plenty of food or water. The problem is communication, it's disconnected systems, and it's lack of efficiency. McDonald's throws out tons of food every day. Now, why is it not shipped over to Africa? Because McDonald's has closed systems. If AI was involved in that process, because it would have access to the entire system, that right there would erase 90% of the food problem.
You're 100% right.
The food supply and the food chains, all of that will be handled by AI. We don't even realize that they're there. It'll just be in the background doing the work, but it will control most decisions in society.
You have a really interesting history.
It's almost like God put me in that path for this. Never would have thought I'd be where I am at now.
They want to hear what you have to say about these things because you're a real person that I can believe there's a trust factor.
I just want to make the biggest impact on the world I can. And right now, this is how I can do it.
Welcome, early risers, to another episode of the Early Risers Morning Show. Today, you are in for a very special treat. I'm super excited to introduce you to Armando Pantoja, who is a tech, crypto, and stock expert. He is an influencer that reaches millions of people on social media. He talks about stocks, crypto, and he's been educating me and a lot of you for the last 3 years or more. He's the author of the book, The Strategic Millionaire. And I will say he's a little bit of a psychic in some areas, which I want to talk about. But welcome, Armando. I'm so excited to have you on.
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
I want to jump right into it. So there is so many fears about AI. And you are one of the top people that I will go to, honestly. Whenever I hear something about AI, I'm like, let me see what he has to say about it. What are the true fears of AI in the next 10 years, in your opinion?
I mean, AI could take over, but I don't think it will be in the way that the movies just depict it. I really believe that AI one day will govern society, but it'll be a better society. But AI is going to help us in the short term. I'll explain that later. But AI in the short term is going to help increase productivity. It's going to help a lot of the things that we struggle with in society. And AI is nothing more than just an advancement of what we've already been doing. AI was first created in 1956. It's nothing new, and then we moved on into some kind of a little bit of advancements in AI in the 60s and 70s, but there was a big one that happened in the 90s. In the early 90s, mid 90s, IBM created a computer called Deep Blue. And Deep Blue was the first computer to be the human grandmaster at chess. So when that happened, that was just like now. That was a big movement in AI. Everybody started getting scared or whatever. And AI advanced from there and nothing really, happened. We just got better at what we're doing. So now we had another big movement with the release of ChatGPT. And that's what started all this AI talk. I was talking about it before, actually, but I didn't know ChatGPT was as far as it was. To pass the Turing test and all of this other stuff. But I knew the AI advances were happening. So it shocked everybody, including me. And I studied AI in grad school. And I didn't know we were that far. But it started a wave of NVIDIA and a lot of the AI stocks doing well. But a lot of people started also getting scared. Like, oh, man, am I going to get a lot of jobs got replaced immediately. A lot of copywriters, I got rid of like 2 or 3 contractors I had because ChatGPT does it for me. So people started getting scared, right? But if you go back and it was a movie called Hidden Figures. You watched that movie?
Yes.
Hidden Figures. The main character, she was a calculator. That was her job. She took big list of numbers and she calculated. She was very good at it. Well, when calculators came out, her job didn't get erased. She just moved to another job.
Yeah.
She's still smart. She still can do other stuff. She could be retrained and move on. And that's what we're going to do with AI. Like a lot of these jobs that AI can do, people will just move on to new jobs. Right. And that's how it's going to happen. That's how it's happened traditionally in the past. And it's not going to be the big shakeup we think it is. People will just adapt and move on. Humans have great ability to adapt. And like the third point I want to make is that AI probably eventually will take over society completely. But it's not bad because we think it's bad because of 2 reasons. Because movies have trained us that it's going to always be evil. They're going to come through with streets and start killing us like a war. And 2, is that in human history, every time a more advanced civilization has encountered a less advanced civilization, there's been chaos. They've taken them over, enslaved them, or whatever. That's happened for years,
Yes.
thousands of years. So we base our history on and we say AI is going to do that too, but AI is not like us. It's have emotion like us. The AI will take over society in a way we won't even know what's happening. It'll be in the background. All the advanced stuff like law and all the things that keep us, the food supply and the food chains, all of that will be handled by AI. And even after a couple of generations, we won't even realize that they're there. It'll just be in the background doing the work. But it will control most decisions in society.
Hmm. So you don't think that AI running the world, assuming that it's going to be like you could say like a prescription, the AI is going to analyze, it's going to be all data, all logic. You don't think that could make things worse?
No, I mean, because I'm different because I'm a techie, but a lot of times human emotion causes more problems than lack of emotion because it's not people make decisions based on emotion that downstream end up hurting a lot more other people. For example, if you're at a job and there's a person that's not performing, you fire that person now. If you don't fire him, then three, four other people have to work harder to carry this person down because you didn't have the emotional thing, to fire him. And I just think that if AI is trained the right way, and we still, humans will do some stuff still, probably the government. But I think it would be a better situation for everybody, to be honest. I don't think it will be like you think, like robotic and killing people. It'll just be in the background making decisions.
I think that's super interesting. I could see it. I could see it helping things like evening things out a little bit, taking care of, places where people don't even have food and water and just kind of making it a little bit better. I could see it doing the opposite though too, and just causing chaos if people feel like there's like a lack of democracy.
I'll give you a good example. In our society, think that there's a shortage of food or water. There's not. There's plenty
Right.
of food or water. The problem is three problems, right? It's communication, it's disconnected systems, and it's lack of efficiency. McDonald's throws out tons of food every day.
Yes.
Now, why is it not shipped over to Africa? Because it wouldn't. Walmart, McDonald's has closed systems. They're not talking to people all over the world, and they're not planning ahead or predicting that they're going to have this to send over. Now, if AI was involved in that process, it would be able to predict what's coming next, already have the ships lined up, and because it would have access to the entire system. So it can make adjustments in the system and that right there would erase 90% of the food problem. Because we have food. The United States just dumps milk on the land because it's too much sometimes. Or every major supermarket throws food away
Yes.
and they actually destroy it on purpose so people because of the liability issues and the legal issues. But that's an inefficiency in a system. If the system didn't have inefficiencies, people would have food and water. And that's what AI will, if you plug AI in the right way, it will solve those inefficiencies.
You know what? I like that. I like that point a lot. I'm going to run with that. How do you think AI is going to play in real estate?
I mean, if you look at technology in real estate over the last 20 years, it's probably going to continue down that path. So, real estate, for example, real estate was a very inefficient market. And in market terms, what we mean by inefficient is that all players that want to buy or sell this asset don't have access to all the information. That's inefficiency. So
Yes.
people can take advantage of that, information, asymmetric information, take advantage of it. But now that we have access to more information, the price is almost set. Anybody can go up and look at the price and know exactly what the house is. So what it did is, and you're a real estate agent, right? You know that they passed that law or something.
An
It was, I
investor.
don't, no, it was something that I forgot what
Yeah,
the
they passed the agent. I'm an investor, but on the agent side, they passed the NAR law to where buyers' agent commissions now have to be agreed on. It's not set anymore, and you're not just going to get paid.
that's a result of all players having access to the information. And then they
Yeah.
realize, well, I'm paying this much, and they get mad. And then, that's why this happened. Over the
Fact.
last 20 years, you can go online and look it up. Before you couldn't do that.
Yes.
So you just on closing day, you just get a list of stuff and you just go ahead and sign it. But now you know too much. So now you're trying to nickel and dime every single price. But AI will just be a continuation of that.
Yeah.
It reduce the inefficiency. So it'll be at a point where a house is just going to be an asset like it's traded on the stock market, where it won't be so many differences in prices, right? So one agent won't be able to do better than the second agent because there won't be any more inefficiency.
I want to go back to what you were saying about, when you were in graduate school and that was your background. I've been following you for a while, but this may be the first time some people are finding out about you. You have a really interesting history and kind of, I'll say, like a skill stack or a knowledge stack that kind of ended you up to today. Can you kind of go over that with everyone so they can know why you are, in my eyes, the authority, and a lot of people's eyes, the authority on a lot of these topics?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's almost like God put me in that path for this. Like I never would have thought I'd be where I am at now, depending on where I started. I mean, from back where I started, right? Is that I wasn't a good student in high school at all. I wasn't, so I had a 1.8 when I graduated, and I really just I didn't care, and I
Wow.
didn't know if I was going to go to college or not. And I was working in the guidance office because as a senior, everybody had to work somewhere in my school as a senior. So you had to work in the like cafeteria, the guidance office, or somewhere. I chose the guidance office. So I would just, basically just do little, do errands for the guidance counselor. But they really liked me. And at the end of my senior year, they were like, Armando, you need to go to college. And I was like, I'm not going to college. It's crazy. And then they were like, no, they sat me down and they forced me to fill out an application. And back then it was a typewriter. So you had to put in a typewriter, you had to type it out. So, and then I filled out the application. And then once I filled it out and I sent it in, I started getting excited. Like, man, I may go to college, whatever. Oh man, I'm gonna go to college. I can't wait. And then I got a rejection letter back. And it was the only, it was the college in my town. So I didn't have enough money to go off to college. It had to be that one. So I was like, I already got excited. So I was like, man, I got to find a way. So I went down to the school and got the bulletin, all the rules about how to get in and stuff. And I found a loophole. It said if you got a 26 on your ACT, they would bypass all grades. So
Mm,
like, oh, okay. So I went and got some help guides at the library and I studied for 3 months and I ended up getting a 28. And I got in, they let me in, no remedial classes or nothing. And then when I got in school, I really know what I was doing. The second year, I took a computer science class. And when I was sitting in that class, it just like dawned on me, this is what I need to do. So I studied computer science. I worked at a few companies, went back to grad school, started a company called APAN Software. I ended up failing, but I learned a lot of lessons from it. So I had to go back and get a job. I worked at AAA. I was the head developer for the travel system in AAA, AAA, the cars.
oh, yes.
I did the travel stuff though, but and I worked there for 6 years. And while I was working there, like the fourth video, I was like, man, I want to do something else, man. So I was into crypto already back then, investing in it and buying it and stuff. And so I created this site called ICO Ranker. And as I was into crypto, then I started in crypto before 2015 wasn't, you couldn't even get charts on Bitcoin. Like it wasn't like that. It was a currency.
Right.
But once it became like an investment, I started having to learn more about investments, how they work, how stocks work. And I got into that around 2013, 14, 15. And so I created a company called ICO Ranker. Me and my business partner, we put the site up and it was a crypto site. Within like 3 or 4 months, we was the third biggest crypto site in the planet. And then,
What?
after, yeah, then it started doing good. And like 6 months after that, we got a buyout by a publicly traded company.
Wow.
So then I was a millionaire right then. So after that, it went viral because I was back then it was a big sale. Now it's nothing. This is 617. Back then it was big, but now it's not like, oh, that's nothing because crypto has grown 30 times since then. At the time we sold that site, Bitcoin's at $3,000,
Wow.
so now it's at 70, so it's
Wow.
20 times more. So
ICL Ranker is still it's an active site.
nah, it's not. The ICOs don't exist no more. It was like the NFTs of 2017. So
Okay. So you got out at a really
they still
perfect time.
exist. Yeah, I didn't know it was gonna crash, but I got out of it at a good
That
time.
is crazy. Look at God.
Yeah, but so after that, I had like 300 followers on Instagram, and then the news went viral. And then I had like 30,000 followers overnight. And then people started asking me help about all this stuff. So I was like, and I was a teacher in the past too. I used to teach when I was in grad school. I taught for 3 years. I was a college instructor, taught computer science. So I like teaching. I just didn't make enough money doing it. So they gave me an outlet to teach. And I started teaching, and then my profile started growing, and that's where I got to where I'm at today. So because of my tech background, I'm very good at tech stocks. That's kind of what I stick to,
Yes.
and cryptocurrency. And those are the two things. And futurism, I'm able to. I have a unique ability to see what's coming next, and I know that. And that's because of my tech background, my interest in history. Even when I was a kid, I was always reading books about the future, what was coming next. So over time, with tech and with finance and with that interest in history in the future, I just was able to see what's coming next a lot of times in technology, and that's what made me even more money since that sale.
And I see that especially with I think it's the in Nvidia or Nvidia. you've been
NVIDIA, yeah.
kind of like predicting everything with that pretty accurately, and it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird to me because it's not my industry and it's not my realm, but I'm super spiritual and I really believe that sometimes things happen that are out of my control. You could call it lucky, whatever. My name means lucky, so I feel lucky, but sometimes right place, right time, right skills, whatever. And then I just get lucky. But with the prediction of something like that, it seems, are you going historically based on other similar companies, or are you like, how are you even predicting these things?
So I've predicted like 10 things. That's just the most recent. So, I mean, with great accuracy, down to the month a lot of times.
And you'll say that too. Like you'll post something and be like, I predicted this at this time and now we're
Years
here
ago
and
now,
exactly
yeah.
what I said. And I'm always like, this is weird. Is he a part of some kind of group we don't know about? No.
Now, I'll tell you why. Like, I also, I do events and stuff and teach a lot of predicting and trend spotting and stuff that we do. But I can teach people about 90% of that. Last 10, I'll just be honest with you, like intuition. And the only way I can explain it to somebody is like waves going around me. And all of a sudden, like the wave, it could be like the news wave, and then you got like society wave. You see people walking around. It's like all these waves. And then every once in a while, the waves line up. And then once the waves line up, something's going to happen. That's the only way I could explain it. It's like the chatter of the people. Like, and with NVIDIA, I'm just saying what I saw in my own words. I don't know how to explain it. It was the I saw the excitement of people about ChatGPT. And remember, NVIDIA was at 70, $80 when I started
Right.
going heavy on it. It was a chatter of people about NVIDIA. And I saw a lot of the corporations rushing to adapt. And then I saw NVIDIA, the chips running out. And you say, well, NVIDIA is the only company on earth that can provide the chips that people, it's the best chip manufacturer in the world. They make the most efficient for the dollar. For the dollar you spend, NVIDIA makes the best chips. So all of these things around ChatGPT, the waves start lining up.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm going hard on NVIDIA. That
And
was
you're
back when NVIDIA was at $80. And a lot of people said it was going to keep going down.
That's what's crazy to me, and you're super tuned in. You're really tuned into, like, the ether and the buzz. Are you, like, waking up at 3 AM to do this every day, or what is your kinda daily routine with
I
staying
have
on?
I have analysts. We have because I also work with Robert Croak. We have a office of analysts that just do all this stuff for us, just give us reports. So
Crazy.
what happened overnight and stuff, and we read them, and then maybe a text message or something, and I'll read them, and then if it's an interesting article, I go look at it, or I read a lot. I read a lot every morning. I read 10 articles on what's happening. That helps a lot. And I don't use the analysts for that, but like a lot of stuff is hard to keep up with it. Like
Right.
crypto is something new every other hour. Like you have to have somebody summarize it in a report at the end of the day.
That's smart. That's super smart. So it sounds like 2013, 14, 15 was this transformative time for you where you're working, but you're also like, "You know what? I'm gonna do something else." You could say you tried and failed entrepreneurship prior to that. What
Yeah.
happened in 2013, 14, 15 that changed everything?
I started that other company I told you that fell in 2009. I was 27 years old. I was probably a little too just naive and stuff. I didn't know and then the company did extraordinarily well at first. So to be honest, I got a big ego too. And I started thinking I was better than I was. I spent too much money,
Mm,
and not on myself, but on the office and expansion. And in my mind, I thought having an office full of employees and a big office with logos and stuff, and an office full of employees was a success. So that's what I was going for. So I got a real expensive downtown office. I had all this stuff and employees, and I spent too much money. I just had too much of money every month to spend. And if something ever retracted, I didn't manage risk at all then. And
mm.
then it did retract. And then I just couldn't handle the money, the outflows every single month. Until finally it just bankrupted me. And I was at the time when I let go of that company, I was 180,000 in debt.
Wow.
Yeah. So and it was credit card, like business credit card debt was like 20% or whatever. So it was hard. So that's when I went back to teaching. I worked 3 years while I was working at AAA as a head engineer. And I taught at night almost 3 years to pay that debt off. And then after I finished that, I was like, I kind of gave up in my mind when I was doing that stuff. I just like, I'm just gonna do that. I really was gonna stay at AAA the rest of my career. Because it was a good company. It was the best company I ever worked at in my life, to be honest. So I probably was going to end up staying there. But as crypto and stuff started like booming up in 2000, it was 2015. I was like, man, I can't miss this. I can't miss this opportunity. So I started like working on that site. And then after that, all the lessons I learned from the first company, like I was very frugal. I wouldn't
Mm.
hire anybody unless I absolutely had to. I didn't have an office space at all. We'd work remotely. I was very careful how I spent the money. I wouldn't take any money from the company. We reinvested back in. I didn't care about what it looked like on the outside. All I cared about is the efficiency of the company. And
Yes.
that's why I did so much better. But those are the lessons I learned from failing in the first company. So it was all part of the journey.
That's awesome. So you bootstrap that, and now I believe you have a community where you help teach people to learn how to predict trends and learn how to trade stocks and crypto?
Yeah, we do. It's called the Chestnut Checkers community. The reason why it's called that is because back in 2020, so I sold the company in 17. So I was just talking online in 2020. I had like 50,000 followers when the pandemic hit, and then after the pandemic, I had like 250
That's
because
crazy.
everybody was at home. I was live every day and just kept gaining a lot of followers.
That's when I
But
started
back,
following you too.
yeah, but back then, what was the point I was making?
Oh, the Cheshire Checkers, why you named it
Oh,
that?
yeah, chestnut chickens, I'd post out because I didn't sell anything, I didn't charge anybody anything, I was just on there, I already I was just on there because I like teaching. I didn't sell a course, go to an event, do nothing from 2017 to 2021, nothing.
Really?
No.
So you didn't do it intentionally, you were
I was
just
doing
you
it
were
for
just getting on there.
I didn't even know people sold stuff online. Like, remember, I can't I just was doing it because I wanted to teach.
That's
I just like
funny.
teaching. I was going online. Then people started telling me, "You need to do classes. You need to do this." And then every time I posted something, people put hashtag chestnut checkers, chestnut checkers, chestnut checkers. Then they gave me the name, so I just took it on. And then I started the community, and then I started the events at 2020. I say the end of 20.
No, I love that, chestnut checkers, and you do so young people, 20 to 30, maybe getting their butt kicked in entrepreneurship. You talked about a lot of stuff that I've been through too, just blowing money, thinking like, "Oh, I'm rich now. I got it," and then it doesn't really work out.
Yeah,
How
same thing I did.
how can they play chestnut checkers financially, with maybe not the biggest income?
So, because it's a long term game. That's why we say chess, not checkers, because checkers is a tactical game, which you just play move by move. Checkers is an all encompassing strategy, which you start with the end in mind. So it's a big difference in those two games. They both require you to be smart to win, but there's a big difference in how you go about it. And that's why we say chess, not checkers, because chess is an entire lifetime of decisions. And each one decision may not even be, as important as all the decisions combined. But to somebody that's young, it's the realization that whatever you're making is probably not going to last forever. And you just got to realize that. Like if you got a big job now, there's going to be drawdowns in your life. There's going to be come
Mm,
ups, and that's how it is. So you have to prepare for the drawdowns when you come up. And a lot of times, especially when we're young and we go to college, we get out and get that first big job. We think I made it. This is it. This is permanent now. This is the permanent state going forward. And young people a lot of times will even overestimate how much they make. They're actually not rich, but it's more than they've ever made, and they don't have kids yet. They're living in an apartment. It's a lot of money to you, but long term, it's not a lot. So you just have to think when you first get that first job or that first big come up, like I did with my company. You can't think this is the permanent state now. This is how
mhm.
it's going to be. Nah, it won't be like that forever. So you have to start preparing for the downturns.
To me, from your story, it kind of sounds like I relate a lot to your story because I stuff kind of ends up happening to me. Like even though I don't fully plan, like, oh, I'm gonna try to grow a following, I'm just posting stuff and then it happens. And then you're not really trying to necessarily do anything with this ICL ranker. You started it because it was an interest, then it kind of goes crazy. It seems to me there's some interest and then there's some part of it that might be like ordained or it might be just the path you're supposed to be on. But obviously in the past or has it's been happening, it's kind of coming to you, and now that you're at the front of it, where do you see yourself going in the next few years, or what are some things that you've ironed out that you want to accomplish?
At this point in my life, is impact really. I just want to make the biggest impact on the world I can. And right now, this is how I can do it, right? Is through what I'm doing now, because this is my expertise. But later on, I would like to do more. I even tell people I can see myself, and I know it sounds crazy now, but it may not be crazy in 20 years. I'm 43, but I'm like 15 years. I really want to run for president one day.
Oh wow, that'll
Uh,
be awesome.
think that a path to that, and I know people saying, "Oh, he thinks," but nah, but I think I can. And because I think in the future, I'm good at predicting what's coming next.
Yes.
So, and you think, and people are thinking right now, social media influence. I don't like being an influencer, but that's kind of what I am. Social media influence is not going to be president, but yeah, they will because things will change. What's going to happen over the next 20 years is that the younger generation, how old are you?
29.
Yeah, the younger generation is your age and younger. You're growing up with influencers more than you are TV people and other
100%.
influential people. And then they're going to be the ones you guys look up to in 20 years.
Yep.
Say, this is the person I want to, like Ronald Reagan in the 60s, 70s. He was a TV actor. Then he became president. Donald Trump was a reality star actor, became president because reality shows were what were hot in the 90s and in early 2000s. Now social media is hot. So in 15, 20 years, the political leaders are going to come out of social media.
The
And it won't
the
even sound crazy, like,
You don't
like
sound crazy at all. The fact is, you are a thought leader. I literally said you're somebody that I go to when I hear news. But let me see what Tall Guy Tycoon has to say about this, because it's just what it is. I'm not going to Google, or I don't want to hear what NBC has. NBC's been lying to me my
exactly.
whole
People
life,
your age
and
don't
that's
want that anymore.
yeah, that's exactly the mindset that people my I mean, all the ages around me. You're 100% right, and I feel the exact same way, which is why I've decided to focus more on media, because my whole thing is just like, oh, I did a deal, like check it out. I didn't think I could do a deal, and then that snowballed into I'm
Yeah,
teaching people on Zooms, 50, 60 people, snowballed into, okay, let me take this serious and do coaching and start a community. But in the same way, people don't watch the news. They watch podcasts, they watch
exactly.
YouTube. They want to hear what you have to say about these things, because you're a real person that I can believe the powers that be didn't pay to put this message out there. So there's a trust factor. Super smart. I'll vote. You got my vote. So
Thank you.
I think that's super cool. I didn't expect you to say that.
Yeah, I mean, I know nobody does, but I think I see a path. So
When I was in elementary school, I said, I want to be president of the United States one day. And there was this Jewish boy, Wyatt, and he was like, well, that doesn't make sense. First of all, you're a girl, and also you're black. And it was so funny.
he said,
But
how old was he?
we were in second grade.
That's crazy. He already knew that, had awareness at that age.
That's what I'm saying. And now it's like, yo, anything's possible. After Obama and
Yeah.
after, I mean,
Trump.
what we have right now, look, anybody can do anything. And
I mean, nobody
somebody
ever thought Trump would win. Nobody ever thought Obama would win. So
Yeah, so somebody smart and reasonable with experience, yeah, that actually sounds like a breath of fresh air. I really appreciate this. This has been so awesome. I love your take on AI. I could literally ask you a million questions, but I want to respect your time because I know you're super busy. Where can people follow you and get more and learn more?
on every platform, Twitter, I think it's called X now, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, all under the same name, Tall Guy Tycoon. And secondly, we do have a podcast. It's number 19, hit number 19. It's called Crypto Trends Podcast. It's on
Hey,
Spotify.
that is awesome. Congratulations. Hopefully this goes viral and you get that many more and you get to number 10, number 5, number 1.
Yeah, we'll see.
Thank you, Armando. I really
Okay.
appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time.
Have a great day.